Hello? All right. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:35. Thank you all for being here. I know conditions aren't the most ideal, but I do appreciate it. Before I go on, I understand the agenda is very full tonight, but much of it is procedural. And I'm going to actually motion to adjourn. I'm going to motion to add another item to the agenda by unanimous consent. This item is in the folder. It's called a joint resolution in support of the implementation of the JED Campus Initiative. This was passed today in Student Services, and we have been working with the governing board already pass money and give USG assistance to this program. I think it's important that the Senate has a chance tonight to speak on this. So if there are no objections, I'd like to add this into new business by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, it is so ruled. All right. With that, we're actually going to move into public comment first, and we have the graduate student trustee here to present to us about the upcoming trustee election. So, you can. Okay. Should I? Is that all right? Yeah, that's fine.
Hi. So first I want to introduce myself to you all. My name is Sam Surowitz. When I did my undergrad here from 2014 to 2016, and I served in USG. I was a senator in USG, commuter senator, and then after that I became the veteran ex officio senator. So thank you all, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Speaker Crow and USG President, as well as the U Senators, Executive and Judicial, for having me here today. So really appreciate being able to come back here and speak to you all. So what does the Board of Trustees do? The Board of Trustees, they hire the president, they buy or sell university land, approve or not new academic departments and faculty tenure decisions, oversee building projects, typically over $500,000. They're the final appeals for certain faculty and student issues, such as tenure, and they operate in committees. There's an academic affairs committee, student life committee, building grounds and environment, financial affairs, and an executive committee, which is made up of the chairs of the various committees. And there are 21 members of the Board of Trustees. 12 are appointed by the governor for 6-year terms. One is an elected undergraduate student, one elected graduate student. There are 3 state commissioners. One is the Commissioner of Agriculture, the Commissioner of Economic Development, and the Commissioner of Education. And finally, there is the governor himself is the president ex officio of the board. And let's see, is that everyone? I think that's it. So, as a graduate student, or in your case, the undergraduate student trustee, you have to balance basically 2 sets of responsibilities. You're a representative, and that's the election that you run in. You see it right on there on the packet. Representative, undergraduate student representative on the Board of Trustees. But you're actually a full board member, so you're also a trustee. So you're both a representative and a trustee. And as a representative, you have this responsibility to the constituency that elected you and to act in their best interest. And as a trustee, you have a responsibility to act autonomously and do what you believe and vote the way that you believe is best for the university as a whole. You also have a financial responsibility, fiduciary responsibility to the university. So I'd like to open up if anyone has any questions about the Board of Trustees or what it's like to run in the election. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have if anyone's interested. Yeah, Matthew.
Do you think it's enough to only have one undergraduate student and one graduate student together all the students in the class?
So that's a good question. And I think it's a good question because it's a question of representation, right? So we're talking about, like, again, talking about representative versus trustee. There are 12 people who are not representative of any body any body, being a body or group or anything, that are appointed directly by the governor, right? And so you can think of those people as being having somewhat of affinity potentially to the governor who appointed them in their initiatives. As a representative, I don't know, so first of all, I'm definitely supportive of more students on the board. And I think the most important reason that comes down to is workload, how much each student can balance, and committee assignments. If you can spread yourself out over more committees, you can have a greater impact. But that being said, I don't think it's a matter of representation as far as how many people do I represent, do we split the representation up. And there are some negative sides of it too, because if you and your fellow undergraduate student trustee have opposing viewpoints, not only will you not be able to work effectively, but you might kind of throttle the whole student voice that you're supposed to put on the board by being in disagreement with one another. So I think the dynamic between the two students and somewhat of a truce to work together would be extremely important. Does anyone else have any questions? Could be about like what the election process is, if you're thinking about running, or about what it's like on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
Who's the current undergrad trustee?
The current undergrad trustee is Nandin Tugman. Yeah. So, and the positions are 2-year positions. So the elected students serve for 2-year positions. The appointed serve for 6, and the elected alumni serve for 4. So you're kind of a transient in that role, and it's kind of as you're learning the ropes, you're soon to be on the way out. But that's why whoever does get elected needs to go in and kind of have a plan and an idea of what they're going to do on day one, and kind of go in having that plan, because before you know it, you'll be halfway through your term, and you know the writing will be on the wall. You'll be looking at your life after you go.
The undergraduate trustee a voting member?
Yeah, so student trustees are full members of the Board of Trustees. So they're full voting members. They have full full right to vote, to motion, to draft any type of resolution that they might want to draft, and to serve on committees. Committee chairs are selected by, or they're nominated by the chairman and voted on by the board. So it's really not, it's an extreme long shot to think that as a student trustee that you would be a committee chair. That is very unlikely. But you're a full voting member as much as every other member on the Board of Trustees. And you have full speaking rights and everything else. Now, you might think though that you might feel sometimes that you may not be as up to speed as some of the other Board of Trustee members are on certain things that are going on. And that's very possible. You might kind of be the last to find out about certain things, and it's kind of a disadvantage. And the longer you're on the board, it's not necessarily because you're a student. It could be because you're the new guy or the new girl. And by the time that you've actually integrated, it could be 6 months, 8 months before you're integrated, and actually know what connections and who you have to speak to and how you have to figure things out. How we do that? Okay. So I would encourage anyone to run who's thinking about running. Your job on the board is to support students, and sometimes on the board, if you are elected, you may feel like you're on your heels, and that's okay. That's been my experience. You might have certain agendas that you want to move forward for students, and then you just find that things keep coming down the pipeline that are like, whoa, I don't think this is good for students. And that's okay. If you find yourself on your heels the whole time, just trying to kind of hold the ground that you've got for students and not let any ground up, that's okay too. That's not a bad thing, as long as you're staying active with it. Any other questions? Okay, so again, thank you for having me back here. I think USG is one of the most important institutions at UConn. I fully appreciated my time in USG, and so I'll try to just give a couple pieces of advice for everyone. First, I'd say don't underestimate what you can achieve as a student leader. The fact that you're in this room right now, right, even with the weather that is outside, but the fact that you're here at all, that you stood up to do this, means you're at the tip of the spear of student leadership. And if you have an initiative, you should push it. And the biggest obstacle you're gonna have to overcome is gonna be your own self-doubts. And then probably after that, it's gonna be bureaucratic red tape. But I think the last thing that you have to worry about, the smallest of the obstacles, will be others with opposing viewpoints. And the second piece of advice, read it, especially if you're elected to this position. Read and understand the rules, the documents, the bylaws, the actual state laws, even board minutes and agenda items, and invest the time and don't take anyone else's word on it. Make sure to read that stuff yourself and understand it, including Robert's rules. And lastly, just try and find common ground with those who you disagree with, and try and make progress in that space first, where you have something that you can make progress on and come to an agreement with. So I would say prioritize what's achievable without losing sight of what you think might be eventually possible to achieve for your constituents. So pretty much it. So thank you for having me.
All right, with that, the minute taker will call the roll.
Bear with me. All right, Senator Bonaventera, Senator Cannon, Senator Kaplash,
Yeah.
Senator Chidjali, Senator Contreras, Senator Crow, Speaker, Senator Demora, Senator Douglas, Senator Earl, Senator Fernando, Senator Frank, Senator Glassell, Senator Goss, Senator Brennan, Senator Howie, Senator Hooker, Senator Hassan, Senator Kowalski, Senator Knight, Senator Knowlton, Senator Lau, Senator Law, Senator Madon, Senator Mackel, Senator Molina, Senator McEnany, Senator Mima, Senator Mishra, Senator Moore, Senator Knight, Senator Nanadol, Senator Nemec, Senator Odell, Senator Opimi, Senator Osei, Senator Pan, Senator Patel, Senator Pratt, Senator Resnick, Senator Reynolds, Senator Roach, Senator Sacamano,
Here.
Senator Straczynski, Senator Testa, Senator Thacker, Senator Tiberio, Senator Worsler, Senator Revoltina, and Senator Zanswit. Student Services Chair, Academic Affairs Chair, External Affairs Chair, Presidential Chief of Staff, Vice Presidential Chief of Staff, Public Relations Director, Executive Advocacy Consultant, Chief Justice, Speaker of the Senate, Comptroller Thacker, Vice President Gatherow, and if I pronounce your last name wrong, please correct me. Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll now move into reports. We'll first move into the approval of the minutes from the Senate on 11/28/2018. Do I have a motion? Motion goes to Moore, second goes to Nanadol. Is there any discussion? No? Yes. We're gonna move back into attendance just to do the ex officio senators.
Ex officio Kaiser.
Kaiser?
Ex officio Ho. Ex officio Derry. Ex officio Tran. And ex officio Cow. Now I'm done.
Now we'll move back into approval of the minutes. Is there any discussion on the minutes from 11/28? Motion to second. Being no discussion, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Any other chair? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. We'll now move into reports. First report is the Student Services Chair.
Hello everyone, hope everyone had a wonderful winter break and are looking forward to a productive semester. Before I start, I'd like to introduce our new Vice Chair of Outreach, Senator Wursler. And our new PR liaison, Senator Lau. Welcome to the team. So, for Student Services Committee, we have a ton of initiatives this semester, the first of which is the JED Campus Initiative. So for those of you who don't know, the JED Campus Initiative is a 4-year partnership partnered with a third-party advocacy group, mental health advocacy group, called JED Foundation. Basically what they're going to do is come to UConn and assess the state of the mental health of the student body, and then utilize that data to propose evidence-based initiatives, programs, and changes that we can implement through us, USG, and alongside university admin. So we're going to be looking at a joint resolution later this Senate, and that was passed through committee. We've also passed $7,000 of funding through both governing board and committee, so that should be something that's really exciting this semester to look forward to. Another initiative that we're looking forward to is the Public Health Initiative, Public Health Flyer Initiative that I was talking about last semester. This initiative is spearheaded in conjunction with ResLife. We are going to be piloting this initiative in April and fully implementing this initiative in fall of 2019. This initiative can be utilized to address any sort of public health issue. For example, during flu season, you can advertise flu shots in the union, or during finals week, you can advertise CMHS resources and also coping mechanisms, suggesting coping mechanisms for students to take care of their mental health. So that's something I look forward to. I also look forward to working with External Affairs Committee in order to lobby our state legislators to try to push for a mandate that requires all post-secondary Connecticut institutions to educate their students on mental health literacy. So that's one of the pieces of legislation that we're considering today as well. Other than that, I'll leave it open to any questions.
Are there any questions for the Student Services Chair?
I'd like to add to his report you mentioned. I did call Senator Flexer's office today. I will be calling her office again because I left the voicemail. The plan, at least for exec right now, was to try to get Senator Flexer and Representative Haddad to come present to the committee and discuss our ideas. I also left open the opportunity for them to come visit External Affairs and talk about it. So I will update you when I hear back from you. Thank you.
Any other questions for the Student Services Chair? Seeing none, we'll now move into the report of the Academic Affairs Chair. Evelyn couldn't be here tonight because of the snow, but she sent me a report, so it's pretty brief, but I'll read it off. The Academic Affairs Committee will be working with Dr. Schultz on possible general general education reform. He will be attending our meeting next week to host a discussion as well as possibly organize a forum open to students to voice their feedback and concerns. We meet Tuesday evenings at 6:30. Any questions, let me know afterwards. I can bring to the Academic Affairs Chair. We'll move into the report of the Student Development Chair next. There is none, so we'll now move into the report of the Student Affairs Chair.
Thank you guys all for coming out tonight. It's great to see a full room, especially with this weather, so I appreciate you all coming and doing this duty. In external affairs, we are doing a lot, that I will say, but I'll try to condense this as quickly as possible. In terms of state affairs, we are upping our lobbying efforts. I know Matthew Zantzowitz, my vice chair, Senator Zantzowitz, is leading that effort, and we did a quick activity in committee this week to gauge whose senators and representatives were who, people who lived in Connecticut from our committee. He also reached out to people across the committee to gauge interest about reaching out to different representatives and senators on the Higher Education Committee, Government Administrations and Elections Committee, and the Appropriations Committee, which will be our biggest focus for this effort. I know he has also reached out to PERG and will meet with them to discuss coordinating student-led efforts and sending letters, communications to state senators and representatives. So I'm really looking forward to all that we'll do with that this semester. A quick touch on something else that happened at the end of last semester. There was a tour given to some of the incoming state representatives, state senators. I met Senator Champagne and Representative Turco from Newington, I believe, and a couple others were able to come in, so that was a great opportunity. I know a couple of them are serving on high-up committees, so really looking forward to the relationships we'll have there. Also, Senator Molina and Ruben Buca from my committee are working on organizing a government reception, which will happen April 15th. That is the date we have. They're going to be reaching out to a variety of parties ranging from professors and political science students to state legislators to town government leaders. So I'm also really looking forward to that. I also had the opportunity to meet with Emily O'Hara, the vice chair from PERG, to discuss some of the efforts with the state legislature and also future initiatives like having a convention of student government, a conference with different student governments across the state and also PERGs. We touched on subjects ranging from early voting to voter accessibility and the trustee bill, which I discussed also with Trustee Tumu on the side. There is a lot going on in state affairs, but also in town affairs. There's a planning and zoning meeting next Monday, February 4th, to discuss some of the zoning regulations. I know CFO Scott Jordan sent a series of letters over the past 4 meetings to the Mansfield Planning and Zoning Commission regarding certain petitions for regulations that were proposed to the commission. I will be meeting with him and Andrew Rogalski and Trustee Tumu prior to that meeting on February 4th to discuss the intent of these letters, and I will also be meeting with other people across the community to discuss what we're doing there. I had a chance to catch up with both my vice chairs and talk about our plans for this semester. I know also Andrew Rogalski is coordinating volunteer efforts and community service efforts with members of my committee. That will be something down the road, but I'm really looking forward to all that we will accomplish this semester. I encourage you all to come out. We meet Fridays from 3 to 4 in the SOC conference room, and I'm always willing to hear your ideas and any of your questions, and I appreciate it. I yield.
Are there any questions for the External Affairs Chair? We'll now move into the report. Go ahead.
On point of personal privilege, can you turn up the mic?
Up the mics?
Yeah.
Hey, AV people in the back, would you mind turning up the mics a bit? In the back?
They're back there.
Hello? I just want to see you. Is that better?
No, stop.
Oh, that mic. Hello? Probably a little better if I check it out. Hello? Hello? Oh, there we go. Is that good? All right, next we'll move into the report of the VP Chief of Staff.
Hi everyone. Is it?
It's off. VP Chief of Staff. We got one with you.
Yes, we're working on that right now, and we're also working on getting a DJ, but I don't want to say any final things right now. Sure.
You know the date?
No, not yet.
There are no more questions from the VP Chief of Staff. We'll now move into the report of the Presidential Chief of Staff. Seeing none, we'll move to the report of the Public Relations Director. Seeing none, we'll move into the report of the Comptroller.
Hello? Okay, great. I hope you guys had a great first week of classes. So a few updates for me. Our town hall that we had for the funding policies went really well. I was pleased with the turnout, and I'm hoping that we can get a few more in before the semester ends. Just on general funding, if any students have concerns about that, I really want to hear their opinions, so I'm hoping to have the town hall soon. So the SBAC budget, President Appia and I are presenting that on February 11th to the SBAC committee. If you don't know what SBAC is, it's basically what allocates student fee money to USG, so it's a super important presentation. That's February 11th. I'm currently working on the budget that's being passed in Senate by next Senate, hopefully. And I'm meeting with SAIT this Friday. We're going to go over we're going to go over our new funding request system. We're hoping that we can combine the inventory and informational budgets and all funding requests into a brand new system. So we're really excited about that. And lastly, one of my biggest goals this semester in terms of funding is just broaden communication with Tier 2 groups. I want everything to be concise and consistent with what we give, what information we give to Tier 2 groups. So I'm really hoping that we can update our website and give an entire 360 on that, as well as hopefully collaborate with UCTV to make some videos on how to submit funding requests. So we also have funding workshops coming up soon. So if you want to tell your constituents, they are going to incorporate the new policies as well. So I highly recommend that all presidents and treasurers do and complete that. And yeah, I yield back to the chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Comptroller? Seeing none, we'll move into the report of the Chief Justice.
You're all doing well. Okay, so the judiciary has been hearing appeals and cases. They're slated to meet next Wednesday to hear a case regarding a bill that Senate passed a while ago, as well as a series of appeals and sanctions hearings. I can give you a briefing when we're done, but if you have any questions.
Are there any questions for the Chief Justice?
Oh, also there's an election happening, so.
Are there any questions for the Chief Justice? Seeing none, we'll move into the report of the Vice President. Seeing none, we'll now move into the report of the President. Seeing President Apia cannot be here today because of the weather. She did send me a report, so I'm just going to read verbatim. Hi, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful break and that you're all excited about the new semester. My apologies for not being here tonight. It's currently Ice Age round 2 outside my window, and I thought it would be in my best interest to stay home. Hopefully I will see all of you soon. Here are a few announcements. Next week, Priyanka and I will be presenting USG's student activity fee budget to the SBAC committee next Monday. This presentation is based on what we spent during fiscal year 2018 and projections for fiscal year 19, 20, and 21. We did a practice run through the presentation on Tuesday, and it went well, so hopefully it shall all go on Monday. Husky-thon is February 23rd. Please sign up. I signed up over break, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. It is USG's first year participating, and I know it will be special. We currently have 9 members. We definitely need more people to help make our goal. I would like to give a shout out to Stephen Tiberio and Caleb Moore for being our highest fundraisers. Congrats. I would love to see more people registered soon. We have a date for the UConn, #UConn Social Day. It will be March 13th in the Student Union. I've been working on this event with University Communications with the goal of equipping faculty and the students with the tools needed to turn their social media presence into a personal brand. We hope that the skills gained from this event will be useful for recent graduates in their new career endeavors. There will be a lot of announcements in the upcoming weeks regarding the launch of new initiatives, so please be on the lookout for them. These include a push for the implementation of water bottle stations in South Campus, more promotion of body image positivity and awareness, scholarships for the new USG Alumni Association, academic policies to help students pursue dual degrees, fast track programs. You just texted me, so I lost my place. And more. Very, very excited about all of these. We have approved funding for the new website. We have a few mock-ups detailing how it will look like. New York Times registration will end this Friday, so please sign up if you haven't done so. We're also in the process of creating a USG newsletter to keep you in the know of for all things USG. We'll be doing a USG Member of the Month series in that, so be on the lookout for that. As a final note, please attend Elect Her on Friday starting at 1 p.m. in the Women's Center. It's a program sponsored by USG and the Women's Center with the goal of encouraging women to run for elections. Paul and I will be giving a presentation during this event, so please come out to support if you can. She said, see you soon. If there are any questions for the president, let me know and we can make sure that you get in contact with her afterwards. With that, we will now move into my report. All right. So welcome back. Thank you all for being here tonight. We truly appreciate your effort. In terms of things Senate leadership's been doing, we have meetings again at the abysmal time of 9 to 10 on Mondays, but it's the only time we can all be there. So it is what it is. We always have public comment beforehand, and you're always welcome to come in, see how the process works, take part in the discussions we're having. We always like to hear feedback from our senators. Last week we had our first caucus, and it was mostly spent training newer senators that were elected in a special election, but we did have time in the beginning where we introduced our new legislative format. I'm happy to say that that's working out rather well, and we'll be continuing to work with that going forward. As for you newer senators, we're happy to have you. It was a very good caucus. We did some brainstorming, we got some ideas going. I think that at the next caucus, we'll talk a little bit about those, get some ideas flowing, start working on what you've all come here to do, making the campus better. In terms of initiatives I'm doing, I'm thinking about, I announced this to the caucus last week. For those of you who weren't there, I'm considering creating a bylaw and budgets committee, a secondary committee that would sit under Senate and consider all of our bylaw amendments, budgets, and Senate resolutions that come before the body. All of our joint resolutions are currently forwarded to our standing committees, but there is no such body that exists for the other two types of legislation we have. And I think that should be changed. If you would be interested in serving on this committee, please send an email to the representative account saying so. I'm pretty sure that's everything. Are there any questions for me? All right. Seeing none, we'll then move into old business. Seeing none, we'll then move into new business. Before we start, I just want to make a note of something. I've been speaking with some senators and Senate leadership as well. We thought that it would be a good idea, especially me, if before discussion we had a section specifically dedicated to questions. So the way this is going to work is the author will come up after a motion and a second, present their legislation for their 5 minutes, and then we will have 5 minutes of questions, or until all questions are exhausted. This will offer an opportunity for senators to come up and ask questions, because I've noticed a thing where a lot of senators will ask questions during discussion, and they'll stack up, and the author will spend their 2 minutes trying to answer questions instead of refuting points. I may not get to them all. So I'd rather just have a section in which you can come up and ask questions. That being said, I'm going to keep a close eye on that. If you come up to ask a question, you should be asking a question. As a general rule of thumb, if your question is longer than 1 or 2 sentences, it should probably be a discussion. and I will rule people out of order for doing what I think is, or asking what I think are either leading questions or trying to argue points in that. That's purely for questions. But with that being said, I am going to, well, first I'm going to ask for there's a resolution regarding the creation of the position of Clerk of the Senate. Is there a motion? Motion goes to Glassell, second goes to Douglas. All right, I'm actually going to turn the chair at this time over to my Deputy Speaker, Douglas, because I am the author of this legislation, and as such, I cannot chair it. Obviously, I have
Thank you. Oh, that's Mr. President. It's nice to be up here talking about legislation again. So, what this is for about the past semester or so, we've obviously had a minute taker here in the Senate, the wonderful Emma. And as you may have noticed, in the second half of the semester especially, she was more and more involved in Senate, taking attendance, monitoring that, calling the roll, and those such things. She did that at my request. It's not part of her job description. In the past, minute takers have done nothing but take the minutes, and that's what they're paid for. But Emma has accepted these extra responsibilities openly and never had a problem with them. So I thought it would be proper of Senate to pass a formal resolution granting her the title of Clerk of the Senate. Now, she doesn't get any extra duties. It's everything that's already been happening. There's no substantive change, but I truly do believe that this is something important that we should do to formally recognize her efforts. And as a Robert's Rules aficionado, the only other position in Robert's Rules that a body must have besides a moderator, which is the speaker in this case, is a clerk. And we don't have one, so I think it would be really nice if we could formally grant that title to her. So with that, I'll leave it to questions.
Are there any questions for Senator Crow, Speaker Crow?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Senator Crow, will the position of clerk have any official recognition on Senate leadership, especially when it comes to voting rights, or will it be an ex officio position?
So it will not. They will not have voting rights. She will not have voting rights. She won't formally be granted ex officio rights, but as the minute taker of the body, in general, I would already yield to her if she has any questions, just as I do here in the Senate. So in that way, she does. So, form, I suppose.
Are there any other questions? All right, I'll accept your yields. Do we have any points of discussion on this motion? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstaining? In the opinion of the chair, the motion clearly passes.
With that, I'd actually, of course, like to formally congratulate our new clerk, but also say thank you for Deputy Speaker Douglas for stepping up. That was actually his first Senate chairing, and I think he did a good job. Next, there is a resolution regarding a Chief of Staff to the Office of the Speaker of the Senate. Do I have a motion? Motion goes to Pratt, second goes to Nick. All right, first we will have the author of the legislation. Yeah, you can.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Fiorella. I'm the parliamentarian of the Senate. If I haven't had a chance to introduce myself, I'm sorry, things are busy, but I'm here now. So basically, this legislation, if you've already read it, is the creation of the Chief of Staff to the Office of the Speaker of the Senate. So last semester, we had solicited letters of intent for a deputy parliamentarian because, as stated in the legislation, last semester I noticed that monitoring office hours and committee assignments just became a big job, and especially now we have a lot more senators, it's really hard to keep track of every single one of you, making sure that you're fulfilling your responsibilities, and that if you need any help with that, then speaking to you guys individually and everything, it just became a lot. So we figured we should get someone else on board to help me out with those duties. So originally it was supposed to be the deputy parliamentarian. Since then we have changed it a little bit, so now the title is the Chief of Staff. After we solicited letters of intent, we had interviews with the candidates who applied for the position. Over break is when we decided to change the title and the responsibilities, because we decided we wanted to expand this person's responsibilities to not just helping me, but also other Senate leadership members. So originally it was just supposed to be that they would help me out with office hours and monitoring all of that, but then we realized that Legislative Coordinator Watina may need some help during the semester, or that the Deputy Speaker, if he needs help, or if they need help with whatever it is that Speaker Crow also needs help with. We just figured it'd be best to expand the responsibilities to everyone of leadership. So that is why we have changed the title and created this position instead. We talked to the candidates during their interviews, telling them like we have changed this a little bit and this is what it would entail instead, and they were all right with it. The person that we went with is Senator Lau, and when we spoke to her about what exactly this new position would mean, she was completely fine with it. She's been very helpful in transitioning to her new role, and I really appreciate her for that. Besides that, yeah, before we go into questions or discussion, I wanted to motion to add, or to amend, where it says ex officio speaking rights and changing it to voting rights.
Is there a second to that motion? Second goes to Glassell. This is some amendment taken as friendly.
I take it as friendly.
Does the sponsor of this legislation take this as friendly? Yeah. All right, in that case, it's accepted as friendly. There it is. Do you have anything else? All right. Are there any questions on this legislation? All right, seeing none, we'll now move into discussion. What? All those who would like to speak in discussion. Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? And in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Before we go on, the legislation gives me as a speaker the power to appoint someone. So I'd like Holly-Ann to stand up. I'm real stickler for these official things, so I officially grant you the title of Chief of Staff, the Office of the Speaker of the Senate. Congratulations. Hang on a second. The next item on the agenda is a joint resolution concerning undergraduate student body mental health literacy. Do we have a motion? Motion goes to Fernando, second goes to Jose. All right, so the author of the legislation is allowed to come up.
No. This is the one that's passed last week. Yeah. Gen Campus is there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Senators. So before I start, I'd like to throw out a shocking statistic. 1 in 4 college students suffer from mental health issues. So statistically, 1 in 4 of you guys have a mental health issue, struggle with mental health issues. Furthermore, only 13% actually seek treatment for their mental health issues. Now, what is the disparity here, right? What is the disparity? Researchers have shown that the biggest reason why people don't seek care for their mental health issues is because of a lack of mental health literacy, meaning one, high stigma for mental health issues, which is always a very problematic issue in society. Number two is skepticism of the effectiveness of the care offered at CMHS or whatever resources. They don't believe that therapy works. They don't believe that yoga is actually effective, so on and so forth. And number three, they lack the knowledge of. They don't know where and what is offered at the university, at the institution. They don't know what. Does anybody know what is offered at CMHS? Kind of. Yeah, so not many people know what's actually offered at CMHS. So in order to tackle this issue, I proposed a joint resolution that basically pushes for a mandated mental health literacy module, kind of like how we mandate alcohol EDU and sexual assault module in order to tackle those issues. And this, I don't know, did I?
Here, use this one.
Alright, so where was I? Okay, so that's one part of the legislation, which is to push for a mandated mental health literacy module here at UConn. The second part of the legislation is to bring this to a statewide level. So hopefully we'll be working with external affairs in order to lobby our state legislators in order to hopefully push for an act mandating that all Connecticut post-secondary institutions would also have this sort of requirement. I know Title IX requires some sort of sexual assault educational thing for all freshmen in Connecticut post-secondary institutions, which is why we have Protect Our PAC. So hopefully we can make something like that for the mental health literacy module. So with that, I will yield back to the speaker and take any questions.
Are there any questions on this legislation?
When you say mental health modules, are you referring to something that's already established, like some sort of external service that the university would provide, or is it something new that would be created by us?
Well, it would be very similar to like the alcohol EDU module, if you've taken it. So it's basically an educational module that is required by all freshmen, just in order to like give them more literacy on the topic, in order to help them make informed decisions. Yeah.
Next question. Okay, that's okay.
So would the module be created by CMHS, or would it be its own company unit external?
Yeah, so how I envision it is that CMHS, being the matter experts, they would be spearheading most of the programming efforts, but we would be encouraging this to happen. Also, I believe alcohol EDU was the culmination of a lot of work done by wellness and prevention services. So it's very similar in the fact that they're spearheading the effort, not really, us.
Any other questions on this legislation?
Yeah, so Arlington's always, there's also a resolution to push for JED. Would this be?
Can you please stand up and speak louder so we can all hear you?
So we're also going to hear a resolution about JED. Is there any interaction between these two resolutions? Is this something they would push for as well?
Yeah, so the only relationship between this initiative and the JED Campus initiative is that these are both mental health initiatives that student services is actively pursuing. But other than that, these are completely unrelated.
Any other questions on this legislation?
So currently, the President's Council on Race and Diversity is creating a module on diversity, in addition to the alcohol EDU training. So this would then be a third module that students have to take. Do you feel like you've done enough research on how the university would respond to having kind of a completion of different modules that students would have? And do you think that having so many trainings for students to take would take away from the overall impact?
I apologize, Mr. President. Could you project a bit more? We can't hear you here in front of me.
Say that again, sorry?
Exactly.
There we go. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm actually in class right now, but anyways, I can give you my report. But this would be the third module that freshmen would have to take. As right now, the President's Council on Race and Diversity is currently creating a module on that. So do you feel as though having a third module would decrease the impact that these trainings would have for freshmen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like having a third module would not necessarily detract from the amount of information that they would be able to process, but I do hear where you're coming from. One thing I was talking about with Dr. Honorado, the Director of Student Health Services today, with Senator Sakamoto today, we talked with her, and she mentioned that they could possibly fit some of this content, mental health content, into the alcohol EDU content, because substance abuse is very, very interconnected with mental health literacy, mental health issues. So that is something that we can sort out with university admin if need be, but this legislation is just a push for more mental health literacy, because there's not enough of that being promoted into campus. Thank you. Other question?
Any other questions on this legislation? Seeing none, we'll now move into discussion. All those who'd like to speak on legislation, please. Is that a motion? Or?
Yes, a motion. If you scroll down on page 1, it's not the airport clauses. I move to amend the therefore be resolved in this and the second therefore clause to therefore be resolved.
Is there a second to that motion? The second goes to Senator Sakamoto. Is that amendment taken? The sponsors take that amendment? I think so. Okay. All right. In that case, it is taken this way. Any other questions? Or not questions, any other discussion? All right. Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All of those in favor of a joint resolution concerning undergraduate student body mental health literacy, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a bill concerning the 2018-2019 External Affairs State Advocacy Agenda. Is there a motion? Motion goes to Fernando, second goes to Kaplash. Now I yield to the External Affairs Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This was the very first thing we passed in new business of the last semester, the fall semester. That was before probably about 90% of this room was here. And at least 75% of my committee right now was there. So I deemed it necessary to bring this document back up for consideration. Also because we have a new state legislature, we have a new governor, and we have an upped lobbying effort both within our committee and with other student groups on campus. We did bring this up in committee to consider everything that was on it. One of the most notable things, besides changing some of the dates, was adding language regarding early voting. I know that was a big issue that we've been talking about. I know there's legislation in the works. We added a clause on early voting. Just to sum this up, our state advocacy agenda also includes some language on things like improving voter accessibility, improving knowledge of elections, and just going about how we advocate as an arm of student government to state legislators and agency heads, administrators, and whatnot. But the big takeaway is what we did to amend this was add some language on early voting. What I will encourage you all to do is to critique this, because this is the document we will be taking as a committee in most of our lobbying efforts to the different committees we talk to. So anything that isn't on here, I would love to hear your ideas if you have any, or your critiques of it, so we can make sure we have a wholesome and well-rounded document to bring when we go to lobby on behalf of UConn students. I will yield to you, Mr. Speaker, and I look forward to everyone's questions.
Are there any questions on this legislation? Move into discussion. Is there any discussion on this legislation? Motion.
Yes, that is correct. Excuse my bad.
So is that a motion? Do we have a second to that motion? Second goes to Moore. Do you take that as friendly?
Take it as friendly.
And just take it as friendly. Is there any further discussion on this legislation? Yeah, point of
Chairperson Reynolds. So for student services, Derek and I have the contraceptive vending machine initiative bill, and I know that we've been in contact with you about lobbying to change these current Connecticut statutes at the state level. Would that be something that should go on the legislative agenda?
I know I was in communication with some of the so
we were in communication with you, and also Senator Molina was interested in the subject as well. I know there were discussions in student services, and that bill did pass. That is a good point. I know that came up. We were saying with the Yale College Council and their lobbying to try to get that. So I definitely welcome discussion on that and any range of topics that you think is necessary to bring forward.
Is that a motion? Yes.
Whereas clause.
Yes.
Motion? Motion.
Vote. I guess motion to amend to include a whereas clause that says the undergraduate student government external affairs subcommittee is
It's a. You said, yeah, the undergraduate student.
Student government, I guess, external affairs committee affirms its position to lobby for an amendment to Connecticut state statute. Connecticut state statute 20-576-31 regarding
We're going to need you to sit down again for the sake of. Actually, you know what? perhaps it would be better just to have it written down. Yeah, you can just come up here, that way. Right.
There, I'm gonna mention
Yes, that's all. This is just procedure. We want to make sure we get it down. All right. So is there a second? The way this is going to work is the first amendment is as is. And the only difference, we're going to add another whereas clause as well. Where the motion is to add another whereas clause as well. It's the exact same, except for it means in favor of mental health literacy at the state level. Is there a second to that motion? Second goes to Dan. Is that a... Yeah, it is. Just a moment. Are there any questions on this amendment? Is that a question or a motion?
The wording of this is just for that statute.
Stand up and speak louder.
Just for that statute.
Is that what you? Could you word that again?
Yeah. So, like, you put the specific statute number out there. Wouldn't you worry that the language there would provide it to just that statute? That's my question.
That's the statute we are targeting. I wish I could give you the context, but it would be too much to provide at this point, I would say. But that is a specific statute that we are.
Any other questions? Motions? I motion to split the vote. All right, there's been a motion to split the vote for all you new senators. This means, first of all, is there a second to that motion? Second goes to class. So what this means is if this vote passes, we'll be considering these two whereas clauses separately. Is that a motion?
Parliamentary query.
That's good.
Are we currently in the question section or are we in discussion on the amendment as proposed?
So we're in, since he's motioned for, so we motioned for the amendment. That's been set first and second. And then that was in discussion on the original motion. Then we moved into questions on the amendment, and that motion takes precedence over the current section we're in. Senator Moore has motioned to split the vote, so that takes precedence. I. Is it from you?
I would comment that since there is interest in this, I take it, well, I would not take it as friendly, I'd like to have it accepted to a vote. Considering that the rest of our language in this legislation, although I know the intent of Senator Sacamano is for a good cause, I'm sure, the general language of this legislation does not cite specific bills and specific statutes to
If we struck a specific statute number and just said, these statutes are
Actually, hang on. I want to take a second. Nothing against that. We've currently got a motion on the floor to split the vote, and there's been a second. So we're going to vote on that. If you believe that these two things should be considered separately, these two clauses should be considered separately, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. Any extensions? Speaker Douglas. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right. We'll move into the consideration of these two amendments separately. First, we'll move into questions on the first one. Is that clear? That being the first whereas clause that's highlighted. Are there any questions? Seeing as there's no questions, we'll now move into discussion. Deputy Speaker Douglas, and then everyone gets 2 minutes. Yes.
I just want to speak.
Let's turn it on.
Can we not turn it off?
I just want to speak to the first clause. I think that we should remove the statute number for 2 reasons. One, I agree with Senator Zantzowitz who raised that could be potentially constraining. But 2, generally when we refer to outside articles, we include a footnote, and we would have time to review that statute before Senate tonight. Just to make sure that everyone knows and is 100% aware of what they're voting for, I would be in favor of striking that statute number and the word statute.
Thank you. Since, for the sake of time, I saw Senator Glassel raise his placard, Senator Nendahl. I'm going to cap the speaker's list at that, just for the sake of debate, because we got to move through at least legislation and get to the second. Senator Neiman.
Do you turn it off?
No.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am 100% in favor of lobbying for these 2 issues. Well, we're speaking on the first one, so I am in favor of lobbying for it, but I do not think that it needs to be explicitly mentioned, so I would urge my colleagues to vote against this amendment. If you would scroll up really quick to the bottom of the first page, where it says bills and circumstances that are not included in this agenda, which the External Affairs Committee shows interest in lobbying in, which would therefore be these issues that we're talking about right now. So I think it's just redundant and it sort of narrows the scope too much. And these things can just be included within that clause itself and not be made their own clauses. Thank you.
Yes.
Point of order. Previously, you said you cannot amend them during this process.
Hold that. I'm going to allow this amendment. Is there a second to that amendment? Second goes to Senator Penn. Do you take this as amendment?
Just the statute. So adding a state statute regarding
Just the number. Do you take this as record? Oh. All right. Next is Senator Glassel.
I was going to say to vote down this, and because normally you can't amend an amendment, but if we're going to go with this, then I guess I don't have anything else to say, so we can carry on.
I'd just like to second what Senator Neiman was talking about, that anything that's not currently on the bill as it is can just, it doesn't have to be specific here. We don't have to keep adding things to it. This is unnecessary. We already discussed how the Student Services Committee was working with external. This has already gone through committee as the agenda. There's no need to add to it last second, add specific statutes, a specific initiative. You know, there's no need to add this to the bill. It's kind of just, what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
All right, with that, that's the speaker's list. So we will now move into a vote on the legislation, on the specific amendment. All those in favor of adding the first whereas clause that is highlighted to the bill, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. Any abstentions? From Chairperson Reynolds. In the opinion of the chair, the nays have it, the motion fails. Next, we'll move into consideration. The next amendment. Are there any questions on this amendment? Seeing none, we'll move into discussion on the second amendment. Is there discussion? I'm going to cap discussion on this at 3 people. 1, 2, 3. Is that a motion? Or, okay. 1, 2, 3. All right. Senator Sacamano first, and then Chairperson Pan, and Senator Nemo.
Based on the precedent we just established that it's not important to specifically detail what the External Affairs Committee will be pursuing with state legislators, I think this amendment should also not be voted in favor upon because, like other senators have said before me, it's too specific given the other clause that says that on a case-by-case basis, the External Affairs Committee will determine whether other concerns are pursued at the state level. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to remind everyone at this time that if you feel what you said has been said, you can yield your time at this point.
Yes, so I was not aware of that clause, two whereas clauses above, so considering that clause, I also agree that it should be struck out.
And with that, we're going to move to a vote. All those in favor of this, the highlighted whereas clause being added to the bill, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. Any abstentions? Opinion of the chair, one from Chairperson Reynolds. The opinion of the chair, the nays have it, the motion fails. All right, now we're back to consideration of legislation on the whole. I believe we are in discussion. Is there any more discussion to be had on this bill? No? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All those in favor of the bill as it stands, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries.
Before we move on to the next agenda item, I just want to make a quick comment. And this isn't just like for this bill specifically or any other legislation, it's just legislation in general. Please make sure that you read everything before Senate happens so that we can keep questions and discussion, debate items to a minimum, not to limit debate or to not have people talk, but so things like this doesn't necessarily happen. This is the first and this probably won't be the last time. So just please make sure you read every legislation, every piece of it, every clause before you come here. If you have questions, you can reach out to the author themselves or one of us. Thank you.
With that, the next item on the agenda is a resolution concerning the External Affairs Standing Rules. Do I have a motion? Motion goes to Zansowitz, second goes to Howard. I'll invite the legislation back up. We'll speak on this in 5 minutes.
So this is the second thing that External Affairs passed this year. We also brought this back up because over the break, PR Director Tawe asked for PR representatives to attend the PR team from all of the committees in the effort for transparency on an interim basis. I am delegating that position to Senator Fernando. She is the PR liaison. What I intend to do and what we did propose in this bill was to add an outreach vice chair, similar to other committees. It has worked successfully for them. It has worked successfully for other student groups and tier 3s on campus. And I think this is a good step because the duties of outreach and public relations and recruitment usually fall between the chair and the PR director, which is not a sustainable structure. So I did propose an amendment to this, adding a third vice chair to handle outreach, which would handle all of our collaboration efforts between different committees, would handle relations between the PR team and the committee, and branding of our events, our initiatives, and anything that falls under that scope. Also, they would handle initiative outreach and would be the next in line of succession if I were to be incapacitated or whatnot. So that is pretty much the gist of what we did.
With that, we will move into questions. Are there any questions? Two. Senator Sacamano and Senator Lasso. Senator Sacamano, go first.
In clause 3, excuse me, in clause 4, you say any undergraduate fee paying student at the University of Connecticut at the first meeting of the academic year for those who perform the will be considered a voting member. Does that mean that any student from UConn can just walk into your subcommittee and vote on something that you are discussing?
So the rules for our committee, and I believe some of the other committees, are in order to be able to vote on certain legislation and standing rules and whatnot at our first meeting of the year, everyone who attends that meeting is a voting member if they're an undergraduate fee-paying student. If they do not attend that meeting, the other standard applies. They have to attend 2 meetings, and then on the 3rd meeting, they are a voting member. So in the interest of making sure we move swiftly and smoothly at the beginning, we have that in place. But the normal rules apply after that.
There was a question for Senator Lasso.
Chairperson Reynolds, why is this a resolution and not a bill?
I yield to me.
I yield to the speaker.
The reason is because while the bill details USG policy, which is going to be, excuse me, Mr. While the last one was a bill, because it detailed USG policy and initiatives that the undergraduate, that the standing committee is going to undertake, which is something that both Senate and the President have jurisdiction over. Our standing committees, in terms of their rules, only have to report to Senate in terms of what their rules are. They pass them through their committee and then they come to us. The President, because of the nature of how they're structured, the President doesn't have signature power over standing committee rules. So that's why this is a resolution. Does that answer your question? I'll yield back to you. Are there any questions?
Clause 8 says you reserve the right to warn persons. What would you mean warning persons?
If they break the rules of the committee or act out in a disrespectful manner, I will warn them and then I will throw them out.
Any other questions? Seeing no one, we'll move into discussion. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote. All those in favor of excuse me, a resolution concerning the External Affairs Standing Rules, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? One vote. And in the opinion of the chair, these ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you guys for bearing with me tonight. I know I'll lose my voice, but I do appreciate it. Next, we have a motion concerning the nomination of the position of Student Development Chairperson. Is there a motion? Motion goes to Nenadal. Second goes to Oaks. So, President Alpia would stand up if she were here. She's not, so she's delegated me on her behalf to nominate. So, hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I would like to discuss the Student Development Chairperson nomination. Recently, Severity San resigned her position as chairwoman of the committee, thus leading Wawa and I to appoint a new person to fill this role. Devani Douglas currently serves as a Student Development Vice Chairperson as well as Deputy Speaker of the Senate body. Only a freshman member of the organization, Devani has shown clear commitment to USG and has thoroughly impressed Wawa and I how dedicated he is in any role he finds himself in. I have the utmost belief that he will carry the student development mission and vision with grace and diligence. For proof, I thoroughly look forward to working with him in the spring semester. Take that as a nomination. Will the nominee stand? Do you accept this nomination?
I do.
All right. With that, we'll move into questions. I will take, if anyone has questions for the nominee, that would be the time. Do you have a question? Class? Justice Toomey, go ahead. Yeah, you can come up here.
Senator Douglas, what plans do you have with the student development?
If I were to be confirmed, we have 3 things that we are focusing on right now. The first of which is the Cultural Center Open House. That's an event that happens in spring weekend. It's a really large event. It involves coordination with all 5 cultural centers plus the Native American programs. So there's a lot to be done on that. The next one is the Founders Day, which is another event that we haven't set the date for. Surprisingly, we get to set the date for when Founders Day is because no one knows. So that's another large event that we are going to be coordinating. There's actually a lot of steam behind that in the committee right now. And then the last one, no. Let them eat cake. There we go. The last one is let them eat cake. That's for those of you who were here last year. For those of you who were not here last year, didn't hear about that. That's basically a cake decorating competition. There we go. So those are our main 3. We, like all other committees, can pick up more initiatives as the year goes through. We talked about a few new ones at our last meeting, so we will move forward like that.
We have an order. We'll go him, then you, and then.
Senator Douglas, considering that recently USG has taken steps to improve relations with cultural center leaders and student leaders, what steps and actions do you plan to take or progress upon in your term to improve our relationship with cultural center?
Excellent question. So the Cultural Center Open House is a big first step. It will allow USG and my committee to work directly with the cultural centers and build a strong working relationship. In addition to what I directly will be doing, on Monday at 11, I will be meeting with the directors of the cultural programs to both talk about their relationship with USG and begin to plan for the Cultural Center Open House.
Senator Jamar.
Senator, do you mind
Excellent question, Senator Demora. So in our missions, the Student Development Committee and the Student Services Committee. The question was, what is the difference between student development and student services? And in their missions, there is considerable overlap between student services and student development. I would say that the largest differences between the committees would be the main aim of student services is to provide, or is to work with administration on a policy level, whereas student development is to work for the students on a more programming level. Not to say that services can't put on events, they put on TAMP on time, and as I understand, they intend to do so again, and it was great. Not to say that development can't work on policy.
Next question, Senator.
First of all, most congratulations on your nomination. I understand you already fill many critical roles for USG, so if you are confirmed, who will fill those roles? Will you continue them? And if so, do you feel like you have enough time in the day to fill all those roles?
Excellent question. Should I be confirmed, I will resign upon the nomination of my successor. So I spoke briefly with the speaker previously to notify him. I would definitely not wish to, nor do I think that I have the capacity to be both the student development chair and the deputy speaker. I also think it would create a weird dynamic where I would be both working for him and working with him with the business of USG. So no, I would not intend on holding both.
With that, we'll move to the next question. Chairman Beck.
As a fellow chairperson, I understand the importance of engagement of
one person.
I'm sorry, can you speak louder?
As a fellow chair,
As a fellow chairperson, I understand the importance of the engagement of committee members and the participation of senators in your committee. How do you propose that you would increase participation and increase engagement among your committee members?
Thank you, Chairman Pan. I would like to know before I answer, I'm not yet your fellow chairman. That is still up to the senators in this room. In answer to your question, it is very important, nay vital, to the function of any committee that it has dedicated members who will come back week after week and take time outside of the committee to help achieve the committee's objectives. I'm sure Chairman Reynolds and Chairwoman Neves would agree in that. To that end, I plan on doing things in meetings to increase retention. I've changed my meeting time closer to that of student services because there is a little bit of overlap there. And I will be taking actions within committee to hopefully both do more things in committee so that people have more to come back to, and to make the meetings themselves run with a different tone than they did previously.
Are there any further questions for the nominee? All right, seeing none, we'll move into discussion. Is there any discussion on this nomination?
Hi everyone. I just wanted to talk on behalf of Senator Douglas's nomination. I have seen Senator Douglas grow and progress since he stepped foot in the USG office for the first time, most likely. He has been a great member of USG in general, of all of our committees, of leadership. We will miss him greatly, and I hope that you guys do accept his nomination because I feel that he is truly the person who deserves it and will do the position the best.
Is there any further discussion? We'll move into a vote. Just as a reminder, this does require a 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Congratulations. All right, with that, we will now move to the final item on the agenda, a joint resolution in support of the implementation of the JED Campus Initiative for Student Body Mental Health. Is there a motion? Motion goes to Mima, second goes to Kaplish. All right, with that, I'll invite the authors to speak.
Hi everyone. So here we have some legislation regarding the JED Campus Initiative, which, if everyone does not know, is a third-party group that goes into colleges across the country. They go into dozens of colleges and give them a certification of being a JED-friendly campus or a JED-certified campus, which is essentially an audit on the mental health capacity and the facilities that a campus has at its disposal for its students. So what this initiative will do is, over the course of 4 years, they'll initially administer a baseline survey to all the students in this spring, if it's passed. And with that, they'll be able to determine a baseline of what the student's health is, or the student's mental health is like, and what the facilities are. And then over the course of 4 years, with an interdisciplinary team of people from all places in the university, from facilities to dining to admin to students, athletes, everything. We don't want to have a wrong door to open to be able to face issues with mental health. So this is essentially stating our involvement, which we've already established that it's going to happen financially, as we're one of the first organizations actually in the history of JED to be a student-led pursuing of this certification, which is why we were actually able to receive a grant. But yeah, if Derek has anything else to say.
Yeah, to add on to that, this initiative would allow us to propose evidence-based and data-supported, data-driven initiatives. In the past, we've proposed many initiatives, but we never really knew the scope, of the impact of what it actually had on the student body. So through this initiative, we're able to actually quantify whether or not our initiatives actually worked or not. And also, as Sarah Mima said, we've contributed financially to this initiative as well. Overall, this initiative is $22,000 over a 4-year span, but as he mentioned, we got a scholarship of $8,000, lowering it to $14,000, and we split it down the middle between us, USG, and the Dean of Students. So totally we're contributing $7,000. And also, as a final point, I'd like to add that this initiative, due to its broad scope, its breadth, and its sustainability, it will definitely affect the well-being of fellow Huskies long after everyone in this room has graduated. It's definitely something that we would suggest implementing, and this is why we are trying to propose a joint resolution in support of this JED Campus initiative. I'll yield.
With that, are there any questions about the legislation? Sarah Howie.
Thank you. Why was JED chosen specifically to be the organization to do this?
So JED is basically the organization to actually go to get college certifications of mental health. This is sort of the, I don't really know the best word to describe it, but this is sort of the creme de la creme of being a model institution in the country. A lot of the best colleges throughout the entire country have this certification, Ivy Leagues. And we would just be next up to be able to consider ourselves one of the best schools for providing mental health to the students.
Additionally, to add on to that, JED Campus is one of the few third-party advocacy groups out there that offer this type of service at a very narrow type of focus. So like a lot of other ones are kind of like overall general, like whether or not the university is like spending their money well or so on and so forth. But this is focused on mental health, taking mental health at a comprehensive level. And because of that, because of our focus on mental health, this is one of the programs that we chose.
As I understand it, there was a presentation given to the governing board on Saturday, Sunday. Will that presentation be made available to the board so we can better understand the goals of the initiative?
If you guys wish, I can have Dr. Krakow forward you guys the presentation for transparency reasons, yeah, for sure.
And to add to that briefly, you can have her send it to me and I can distribute it to the supervisors. Are there any further questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move into discussion. Right, motion to amend.
Little. The fourth whereas clause, the last sentence, we amend that to say to increase the quality of campus mental health.
To increase the quality of campus mental health over 4 years? Is there a second? This amendment. This second goes to Douglas. Is this amendment taken as amendment? All right. With that, is there any further discussion? This amendment.
On the fifth whereas clause, it says, whereas this initiative is benefits will only apply to the undergraduate population with that's just specified undergraduate population.
that one, that's seated in the boring, JED initiative, but all grades too.
No, that's just, that's
Right, but
Is
is
that
that
a-
all undergraduate students?
is that a motion? Is there a second to that motion? Second goes, taking this from me. Excellent. All right. Is there any further discussion? No?
I'd just like to say that the amount of work that's gone into this, the amount of work behind the scenes to work with JED to get this grant, and to do all the things that go into making UConn a JED program, or bringing the JED program to UConn in pursuit of the JED campus certification. It's been an incredible amount of work, and I'd like to just congratulate Chairman Pan and Subcommittee Chairman Mima on all of their hard work, and hopefully this passes.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into a vote. All those in favor of a joint resolution in support of the implementation of JED Campus Initiative for Student Body Mental Health, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, motion carries. We're almost done, but I'm going to move briefly back into reports. The Vice President has sent me one. What? No, I'm good. We're close to the end now. I might as well power through. That's my voice for it. I apologize for my brief interruption. My last major requirement is unfortunately every Wednesday from 6 to 9, so I will be unable to attend Senate this semester. The course is virtual today due to weather, so I was able to pop in for a few minutes. Anyways, I wanted to update the Senate body on some important information. First, welcome new members. While we'll be MIA in the Senate this semester, please feel free to reach out regardless, out regarding anything. You know what? It would be better if you
All right. So I'm going to be reading as well. Hello, everyone. I apologize for my brief interruption. My last major requirement is unfortunately every Wednesday from 6 to 9, so I will be unable to attend Senate this semester. The course is virtual today due to weather, so I was able to pop in for a few minutes. Anyways, I wanted to update the Senate body on some important information. First, welcome new members. While I will be MIA from Senate this semester, please feel free to reach out regarding anything. Second, I spent the past 2 months planning our annual spring banquet, and I can confirm that it will be held on April 12th at the mansion at Bald Hill. I'm currently working with our staff to determine costs, and will update you on those details in the next 2 Senates. Third, the metanoia on youth engagement is underway. This year I've been chosen as the student co-chair, and I've been working with various administration, graduate students, and the President's office to plan events. We have recently finalized our variety of events, and we will be announcing, in collaboration with SUBOG, our list of prominent activists. If you are interested in helping out with the push and meeting said speakers, let me know ASAP. Fourth, I'm currently behind on planning our first member event. I can confirm that it will be laser tag. I will update you via email regarding updates. I will also be working with SUBOG to coordinate a movie night with you all. Stay tuned. Fifth, thank you to all who helped out at the Involvement Fair. I work in Hartford on Wednesdays and was unable to attend, but I did have many positive messages from students afterwards. You are all incredible. That's all for me. I look forward to connecting with you all soon. Best, welcome.
Is there any questions for the Vice President? Talk to us after. Should we contact? I'm not the Vice President. What was that? Okay, I don't know if they're.
Those are not.
Yeah, okay, so those are from last semester. If you'd like, we can talk. Yeah, go ahead.
So we just confirmed our office hours this week, I believe, and you will be notified next week at the latest.
All right. We'll now move into discussion.
Motion to move into the report of the student development chair.
Actually, I'm going to rule that motion out of order and just move back in by unanimous consent. Let's take these. So now we will have the report of the student development chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A quick update, as I mentioned before, our committee is working hard headfirst right now into spring weekend. I am meeting with the directors of the cultural centers on Monday. We have a lot to talk about as far as the beginning planning stages of this event, so I look forward to a fruitful discussion there. Right now, we are soliciting letters of intent for a vice chair position. I want to hit the ground running, so if there is anyone who's interested in that position, please send a letter of intent to student development at usg.uconn.edu. Finally, we are having an emergency meeting immediately after Senate. So if you are on that committee, please stick around. We have some important things to go over. I'd like to get them done tonight. My apologies for keeping you later. Any questions?
Questions for the student development chair? Seeing none, we'll move back into discussion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll now move into announcements. I'm going to go first because I'm the speaker and I'm losing my voice. So, I'll be around first. Okay. So, a couple things. Obviously, Deputy Speaker Douglas is going to be resigning. This is now Chairperson Douglas. He's going to stick around long enough to transition successor, but we're going to need one of those. So to that end, I'm now opening, or rather soliciting letters of intent for the deputy speakership. Those will open now and they will close next Wednesday during caucus. I will then consider those letters of intent and interviews as I view necessary and have a candidate for nomination by next Senate. In terms of other announcements, I couldn't speak on the nomination Deputy Speaker Douglas was up for it as I was chairing, but I do want to speak to how truly, I can't think of a better word, awesome it's been to have worked with you. You have been such a wonderful help during this entire year. I know I speak for Parliamentarian Contreras as well. We say, and of course, let's just say according to Martina, we say that we couldn't have done it without you, and you made an honest to God big difference. I mean, when I first came into this office, I was terrible at delegating, and Devani just came in and he started taking things from me literally to make sure that I had a manageable workload, and that just shows you the type of dedication this man has. I cannot say good enough things about him, and I'm so happy that he will be going on as committee chair. I end this by saying it's kind of corny, but I really do believe that Deputy Speaker Douglas is one of the best decisions I've ever made as Speaker, and watching him get to confirm tonight as the student development chair as a freshman, I believe, was a fulfillment of that. But with all that mushy nonsense out of the way, we can now move into the rest of the announcements. I know you've got a few of them. I believe Parliamentarian Contreras. So, you're next.
Hi everyone. So I have two announcements to make. One is that this Friday we'll be hosting a Blaze fundraiser for our USG Husky-thon team. It'll be from 6 to 9 p.m. If you'd like to be invited to the Facebook event so that you can have a flyer, just let me or Josh or Tina know afterwards, and we can invite you. Besides that, the forms for office hours and committees are due tomorrow afternoon by 4:30. There are a couple of you that haven't sent in some or all of the forms, so make sure you get those in. If you need to change them, you can just send in another form or email me. That's fine. Hopefully, Chief of Staff Lau and I can send out the assignments tomorrow night.
Before I let Senator Glasser go, I did forget one announcement, and this is arguably the most important. We, right now, our election policies in our bylaws are in a state of disrepair, shall we say, and that should be amended as quickly as possible. I originally intended to bring documents to the Senate tonight to consider, but I felt it would have been wrong for me to author something so quickly, rush it on the agenda without giving you all time to consider it. That being said, we obviously need to do it before February 8th, as that is when all the intent forms are due and when people can start actually campaigning. So to that end, I will be using my authority as speaker to call a brief emergency Senate at the beginning of next week's caucus. There is no dress code. It's going to be very quick. The only item on the agenda will be the consideration of these election policies. I'll be sending out an email tonight with those policies so that you may consider them. If you know anyone on campaign teams or are yourself campaigning, you can begin to read up on them. And earlier next week, when I send out the notification for caucus, I will send out a reminder for all that. I promise it will be brief, but we do need to get this done, and it wasn't right to do it tonight. With that, we'll now move into the rest of the announcements. First in our class, then
All right, I'm back up here. Now, does anyone know what yesterday was? So close. It was my birthday. Tomorrow night is game night. 7 o'clock at the SOC, and there's going to be cake. So come. There will be cake. One time only.
21.
All right. Deputy Speaker Douglas.
I apologize, it was incredibly brief, and now I feel like I'm lengthening it by continuously coming up to the mic, so I'll do this fast. First of all, earlier tonight, Speaker Core relaxed the dress code for this Senate, so anyone could have shown up in hoodies and sweats, and as I look around the room, no one did, and I think that speaks to the dedication of everyone in this room. Oh, wow. There's a collar under there. It's not a hoodie, no hood. My point being, it speaks to the dedication of everyone in this room, and I think you all deserve a round of applause for that. Next, I would like to thank all of you for confirming me tonight. It means a whole lot to me. I would in particular like to thank the parliamentarian and the speaker, the vice president, and the president both spoke to me before. While your attempts to make me cry were futile, I appreciate the kind words. Finally, this semester I've had the honor of serving this body and the speaker as the deputy speaker of the Senate. It's been an incredible experience for me, and I'm sure whoever takes that role next will do a great job transitioning into that role. I'm sure they'll love working with Fiorella, Josh, and Holly-Ann. To that end, I would like to formally offer the Senate my resignation, and Emma too, her clerk. She's fantastic. It has truly been a pleasure, and I thank all of you for confirming me the first time and allowing me to serve in that role.
Effective the confirmation of my successor.
One quick announcement. I'd also like to say just real quick, I totally didn't know we could have worn hoodies. I probably would have. So, before you clap, just saying. Anyways, I'd just like to say UConn Vision is meeting 2:30 to 3:30 in the SOC conference room. For those who have reached out to me already, I'll be sending a comprehensive email in the next hour or a couple hours. We'll see. But there'll be an email going out hopefully by tomorrow morning. So please show up. We would love the support. If you're questioning what I am talking about, feel free to talk to me after and ask what I am talking about right now. I'd also like to just seamlessly plug that I'm dropping a song February 8th, and that's it. Thank you. On all platforms too. All right, good stuff. Have a nice night.
Oh, crap. Oh, I meant to also say 2:30, 3:30 on Sundays. So.
What's your album called?
Oh, right now the first song, exclusive.
No.
It's called Lost Nights.
Sit
The
down.
next day will be
Sit down.
dropping
Talk about
in
that.
April.
Don't make me shut you down with that voice.
You're all welcome to hear samples. Anytime. I got them right here on my laptop.
Mr. Deputy, you have to take your seat.
All right, guys, we are literally right at the end. This is the shortest Senate meeting you have ever been to. And Senator Sakamoto, do his announcement and we leave.
Just real quick, I feel like this will interest a lot of you in the spirit of the involvement fair today. I'd like to invite all of you to the Travel Model UN team. We meet on Mondays, 226 from 6:30 to 8:30. So if you want to practice your public speaking skills, your policy skills, anything like that, get in contact with me and show up to a meeting. Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to motion to adjourn by unanimous consent. Oh, that's right.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. So we passed legislation creating a third vice chair in my committee. I sent out a flurry of emails to everyone on Friday, but I will send one out again, soliciting applications for the outreach vice chair position for my committee due February 5th, which would be next Tuesday. Please email me why you think you're best for the job and just some background on you and why I should consider you. And I'm looking forward to reading some good applications from people in my committee. Thank you. I yield.
All right. And with that, I'm going to motion to adjourn this meeting by unanimous consent at 8:26 p.m. Are there any objections? All right. So roll. Good night, guys.
Development meeting right here, right now.